This is Micornus, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. I want to speak about why all Christians need to belong to a local church. And this is a very crucial topic that we need to talk about. Because there are many people that would say, particularly now, that say, I'll sit at home, I'll listen to live Facebook, and I'll listen to YouTube channels and so on. And they will tell you also that I'll listen to the word that way. I'll read the Bible at home, and I'll also pray at home, and all these things. And they are actually trying to run away from the key aspect of Christianity, which is called fellowship. Now, it is very important then that we speak about this so that Christians may know that it is a must. It is mandatory for every Christian to belong to a home or local church. Very, very important. You cannot avoid that and still continue calling yourself a Christian. This is very key. And I want to emphasize that. And I hope that many of you are gathered and listening to this, and you are going to change from that attitude, because the fellowship is very important as of the growth of a child of God. The first thing that I want you to look at why local church is that local church serves as a spiritual home to enhance personal growth. It becomes therefore a platform where you learn. It becomes a school of ministry where you learn and grow. And they will tell you, those that got born again in the past, that the only way they could mature is when others are mentoring them in fellowships. When others are discipling them, where? In fellowships. Because you don't stay at home, excuse me, you don't stay at home and expect everything to be hunky-dory. And therefore, it is very important that as an individual, you start to know that it is very important that you go to fellowship, and you cannot sit at home and claim that Christianity will just continue as usual. It will be a church as usual. So that cannot be. So it is very important because it is a personal growth ground. It is a place where you grow. And how do you grow? You grow by learning from others. Secondly, you grow by the teachings that have been taught in the house. The other thing is you learn by dealing with others as well. And sometimes by dealing with others, you are meeting different characters in the local church. And therefore, those different characters, they're shaping you. They're actually rubbing against your character. And you are shaping your character through dealing with the people. Remember that when you're in the midst of the people, you are actually meeting different personalities. That some will be tough on you, some will be hating to you, some will gossip about you, some will love you, some will embrace you, and so on. Different characters. But based on these different characters, you start to learn fruit of the Spirit, because the fruit of the Spirit you learn by practicing in a local church, by being patient and loving and so on. But that cannot happen when you are away from a local church. So it is very important to grow your talents, to grow your skills, to grow your knowledge as well in a local church and become a better person as a result. Secondly, I want you to note that a local church, it is a platform to practice submission, because there's a structure in a local church of leadership. And that structure of leadership, you submit under it and you become a follower. And because there are people that are leading you, maybe in a department, maybe in general board members and leaders, maybe the pastor himself or herself, and that is very key. I'm emphasizing this for you to understand that the only way you're going to learn to submit is to submit under someone. Because it's not going to be theoretical and saying, I'm submitting. Because you need to submit unto God anyway. But you cannot submit unto God without submitting unto man of God. This is very important. The people of God are the people that you need to submit upon. And also, I must emphasize that the church then provides you with such platform. And I must emphasize that some of you are not submissive even in your workplaces. Why? Because you've never actually developed your character by fellowshipping in a local church where you learn to submit to a human being. Those that say, I don't care what people say, I care only about what God says. And that cannot be the gospel. So please be careful of that, because God does care about how you deal with other people, how you submit to other people, because you cannot submit to God without submitting to his people. And this is very key that we emphasize that. It is also a platform to practice servanthood, as I've said earlier. So therefore, we see people that choose departments and say, I want to serve under this particular department. I want to be a musician. I want to be a worshiper. I want to be in media department. I want to be in ushering or in counseling. I want to be in all these different departments, but you choose the department that you want to be in under. Now, for that sake, what will happen is you will then be able, one, to submit unto the leader of that place. The second thing is you now practice what we call servanthood, because when you serve the people in that department, let's take, for instance, ushering, for instance, that's a great service. That is whereby you're serving the people and with courtesy, allowing them to see it in an organized manner, putting order in the house of the orderly God. And that's very important, that you are practicing that, then you become a servant and a true servant. And as you do that, you practice even to become stronger. And I want to emphasize this, and many church members don't understand this, that even your pastor has started at the bottom, has been an usher, has been a counselor, has been all these other departments, particularly in the local church when they grew up. Secondly, also in their own churches when the church is still small, the pastor does a lot of that work, and you realize that they will serve willingly. It doesn't say now because I'm a pastor I cannot organize church, I cannot clean the church, I cannot clean the floor in the church. Servanthood means that you must submit yourself, must be able to serve, because as you serve like that, you're serving God. And that's very important that we emphasize that you practice servanthood. It is a fertile ground to plant financial seeds by means of tithes and offering. And I want to emphasize this one because there are teachings that are coming around that are actually deviating people from particularly tithes, for instance. And they will say, no, tithes is in the Old Testament and so on. But forget it. Because if you believe in the whole Bible, why then don't you believe in tithes? And they will say, but then why is the Bible not talking about tithes in the New Testament? In the New Testament, people were giving it all. If you look at it in the book of Acts chapter 6, you'll realize that these people could sell even their farms. They could sell their properties, and they would give the whole amount. So if you want to give the whole amount, great. Let's see that happening. But a minimum of 10% becomes even more easier to give when you are actually keen to give. But people that you'll hear them criticizing tithes are not givers anyway. And that's very important to emphasize that. And I always say this, that if you cannot give tithes, leave those that give tithes alone. Because it's their money, it's not your money. And therefore be careful of what you are doing, because you're controlling others with their money. And while they willingly want to give their tithes, I want to give tithes. And don't convince me otherwise. And don't try to pollute my mind. I want to give it because I understand that the money of tithe is predictable in the church. It's easier to know how much budget the church can operate on when people are taking out tithe, because we are able then to plan projects, we are able to plan to build, to buy a land, and so on, consistently, because we know what budget are we working on. But giving, you don't know, because people will give also only when they're full in their stomachs. They've eaten nice food, and then they're in good mood, then they will give. And they'll tell you, I'm a giver. But giving, that comes out of because you are in a good space. That cannot be as well. Because as I say, the apostles used to sell all their properties and everything that they had, and they brought it to the feet of the apostles. If you can do that, that will be great. So this is very important then to understand that this is a platform that provides you with seed planting. It's a fertile ground that when you give, then you will be blessed. And this is very important that we understand that. Because in the work of God, when you give for the progress of the work of God, there's no way God cannot bless you. I always say to people that God is not necessarily a blesser of people, but God is the blesser of his work. Can I say that again? God blesses his work. And anybody who's found to be a steward of God's work cannot avoid to be blessed financially. So God comes, he want to bless his work, but he's going to bless his work by blessing those that are involved with blessing God's work with their finances. So God multiplies and he turns people into stewards that are able to give, because the more you give, the more God can trust you, because they know that mammon, you've defeated the spirit of mammon. And that is why God never compares himself with the devil. He says, two masters, one is him, one is a mammon. Money. And that's problematic because many people massage this and they actually talk nicely about it. They try to avoid this topic, but I want to urge you that local church gives you a platform to plant seeds financially. The other thing that is very important that local church does, what it does, it actually helps you because it helps you to share to other saints your personal testimonies, and you develop by sharing those personal experiences in God, those personal testimonies. And what they do is actually the testimonies are encouraging others. They're bringing revival to others, because if you have gone through this and God has blessed you, therefore He can bless me also. And that encourages other people. So a church platform has actually been a platform that promotes, a platform of testifying and sharing experiences in the Lord. And then as you do that, you are actually sharing to others and encouraging them. It is a platform to discover own spiritual calling, your own spiritual gift. There are many people that don't know what their spiritual gifts are. There are those that don't know what their talents are. There are those that don't know their callings. They don't know what is their purpose. Therefore, a church platform or a local church provides that platform, because as you practice servanthood in the church, you're going to find a place where you're most suited to, the place where you're most befitting. And that's going to be problematic if you don't actually recognize a local church, because you'll be at home. You'll end up not knowing what you're called for. You'll end up not knowing your purpose and your calling. And that's problematic to do so. And I want you to be aware of that as a church member. Local church is a conduit for blessings. Remember, God's blessing come only through other people. And I've said this, that God doesn't rain blessings from heaven above. God doesn't cause a rain of blessing. And when you pray for a blessing of some sort, God is going to send individuals to come and bless you. And that's how God blesses people. And when you're not providing Him a platform whereby you are present and available, you may actually miss your blessings in God, because you are not there and you are not available at all. I want to end up here today. Your host, Micornus, Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. I hope that you are learning out of this. And I want to urge you to follow us on our social media platforms, our Facebook page, Micornus, Phokane, and Church Governance Solutions. So please click notification buttons there, like those pages, and also go to our YouTube channel, which is Young Men Empowerment Forum, and also Micornus, Phokane. So make sure that you like and subscribe to that YouTube channel. Our TikTok account as well awaiting you. So please make sure that you follow us there. The good Lord will bless you as you do that. Please allow me to check out right here and say cheers for now.